Rooftoppers, Chapter 10, Part 1. Having a name changed everything. Charles made an appointment with the police record office for the next day. He filled in the form with near capitals. Nom du disparu, he said. That's name of missing person. Vivian Vere. Then he hesitated. It says name of supplicant. Is that us? What shall we put? Asked Sophie. Are we going to lie? We're not going to give our real names, are we? Certainly not, but even then, it's rather difficult, he said. Technically, my darling, we're on the run. In fact, I think perhaps you had better stay at the hotel. But couldn't we just give fake names? Yes, of course, but London may have sent out a wire by now to the nearby ports. There will be descriptions. But you said it would be days. I said I hoped it would be days. I would still be far happier if you stayed at home. Why me and not you, though? I am nondescript, my darling. You are memorable. I fear you are, if you'll forgive me, spectacularly describable. The hair, you know. Sophie considered. She thought of waiting in her attic bedroom while Charles was gone. It made her feel sick. No, I have to come. Are you sure? I won't talk, but I have to come. Charles hesitated. Do you have a skirt? Yes, at least I have a dress. Do you have a hat? Something to hide your hair? Yes, Miss Elliot gave it to me. It makes me look like a poodle, though. Excellent. A police description will make no mention of a poodle. Wear it. Sophie woke early the next morning. She got dressed quickly, or rather, she tried to. It wasn't easy to breathe that morning. It seemed there was too much hope in her chest for the air to fit alongside. The police headquarters was a large building, too large, Sophie thought, and too cold, but the receptionist was sweet-faced, and Charles offered his box of mints while they waited. She looked surprised and then grinned and took 3. Sophie refused them. It was hard enough to swallow as it was. Charles and the girl were laughing over something in French, and the sound echoed too loudly around the marble hall. Sophie wished they wouldn't. People were staring. She moved a little further off and pretended to read the French notices on the walls. The receptionist was watching her. The girl tugged at Charles's lapel, and when he politely inclined his head, she whispered in his ear. Then she looked at Sophie and laughed again. Sophie scowled, embarrassed. The clerk appeared just as the echo of the laugh was dying, and the girl ducked her head and began straightening some papers. Come quickly, please, he said. He spoke English with no trace of accent. I can only spare 10 minutes, and you, Brigitte, should not be laughing in office hours. The clerk had a trick of moistening his teeth before he spoke, like a toad, Sophie thought, eating flies. Sophie tried not to look too nervous. Her upper lip was sweating. She dodged behind Charles and licked the sweat off. The floor was laid in marble and rang with the clack of Sophie's boots as they followed the clerk down the corridor. She tried to walk on tiptoe, but it slowed her down by half a corridor's length. The clerk turned round and sighed damply. Sophie blushed. I'm sorry. I'm not doing it on your purpose. It's just my shoes are new. Charles turned round too and walked back and took her hand. Don't apologize. Your shoes are excellent. You sound like a tap dancer. The clerk turned away. Sophie pulled Charles down so she could whisper, What was the secretary saying? Amongst other things, that she thought you were very beautiful. I told her a little about you. She said you have the face of a warrior. Oh, then why was she laughing? She wasn't laughing at you. Anyway, this place could do with a little laughing, couldn't it? Yes, it's like a prison. She gripped him tightly. It's like they've forgotten everything important, isn't it? I mean, forgotten that things like cars and dancing exist. I know exactly. Let's rattle the corridor, shall we? Shall we stomp? Yes, Sophie said. And brave, she told herself. You have the face of a warrior. She straightened her spine and stomped down the hall. Charles attempted a gangly 2-step. He looked like a horse trying to climb a ladder. It made Sophie feel immediately better, and she jumped high and clacked her ankles together. Charles applauded with his free hand against his thigh. The clerk sighed pointedly, and his fringe rippled upwards like a seaweed. Sophie put out her tongue behind his back. The clerk halted outside a room with a large brown desk in it. This is our interview room, he said. It's newly refurbished, sir, so please don't let your little girl touch anything. The pictures on the walls were of men in clothes that looked too tight. One from his face appeared to be bumping. It's very clean, said Sophie. She pulled her hat more securely over her hair. It was as though, she thought, they had deliberately painted everything grim-coloured. Even the chandelier looked depressed. If you'll step inside, Mr. Smith, said the clerk. And the little girl? The clerk gestured to some chairs lined up in the corridor. The little girl will wait outside. What? Said Sophie. No, Charles, please, please. Thank you, sir. Charles's face was blank and careful, but the little girl will join us if she wants to.